On January 8th, 2020, Mitch and I set out to do something that no one in this community had done before, and that's come out with a weekly podcast centered around Ubisoft's greatest title, Steep. Along the way, we have met tons of awesome community members. We have held our first successful season of the Tartiflette games, and we've built a foundation for a community that will grow and form as Riders Republic comes into its own in the next coming months. We cannot express how glad we are and how thankful we are to have you guys supporting us. Your support means absolutely everything. So thank you so much. As promised, we made it just about a year under STEEPCAST, and now it is time to close this chapter. Don't worry, there is much more content to come after the close of STEEPCAST, but hey, why are we talking about the future? We still have an episode to get to. Ladies and gentlemen, the finale. Here comes STEEPCAST, episode 50.
And the chocolate is hot. STEEPCAST reporting to you live from the top of Mount Blanc. Snow missed me, making you miss me. Cause I'm hucking it up 12, I'll throw it into a misty.
As of recording this episode, there is not any Riders Republic information to update you about, but rest assured, as soon as we hear more news, we will have a video posted on this channel.
Even though we didn't get a dev blog this week, we still heard from Ubisoft about Steep, not Riders Republic. They released 4 tracks from Zicali from the Steep soundtrack that had never been released before. So you can head to Spotify, you can head to Twitter at Ubisoft Music, or you can stick around for the main topic where Mitch and I are going to be dissecting these 4 brand new tracks.
And the grand finale of the Tartiflette game season, the Invitational, is just about 5 weeks away. We have laid out the entire event and we are set to record. We have received the entries and we are thinking this show will be 1.5 hours, our longest piece of content yet. So stick around, we'll have more information coming soon.
I believe the first time I did the full-on Scream was episode 4 or 5. I know that it wasn't in the early ones. It definitely wasn't 1, definitely wasn't 2. But here we go. After 50 iterations of it, this is the final one. Crank it up. You'll never hear this again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Reddit Roundup! I think I did it. I think that was the loudest one that I've ever done. My neighbors are currently banging on our front door trying to make sure everything's okay.
Well, I won't know until I edit this episode because as soon as I heard you winding up, I just turned my headset volume all the way down and gave it about 30 seconds. So that's going to be a nice surprise for me tomorrow. But the first post for this week's Reddit Roundup comes from One Baking Panda, and it is a picture they took after taking a pause from Steep. I love the layout of this photo. We have a character wearing a beautiful black and gold tiger stripe jacket looking at the camera while another friendly rider walks away towards the sunset. Beautiful ambiance, beautiful outfits, and a great picture.
Next up, we have a very existential screenshot from X-Human Being saying, "This screenshot is a picture of my life. Beautiful surroundings, but very hard, slippery, and lonely walk." Oh, I kind of feel bad for X-Human Being, but man, oh man, is this picture gorgeous up on what looks to be the little the ice plains from the Extreme DLC in Alaska. I'm here for it, taking that long, lonely walk under the cover of moonlight. Gorgeous.
The third post this week comes from Ski Maniac pulling off a sick drag. Look at that knuckle submerge in the snow going over one of the chunks of ice in the ice fields. And I gotta take that back. Did he also get a ski pole in the snow? Looks like he did both poles and the fist. Wow.
Damn, the Steez is out of control today. Up next, we have a clip from The Steep of Doom from Jesse Elsewhere, coming in clean, pulling off a drunk driver. Mitch and I had both never seen that trick before on the little trick screen. Looks like a pretty clean run here, coming up into pretty difficult section, and oh geez, oh man, just getting clipped. getting clipped by a rocket wingsuiter passing through the challenge. Oh, that is just not fair. You gotta watch out. Gotta respect everyone else up on the mountain. Someone find that wingsuiter and teach him a lesson or two.
And finally, we have a picture from Bo, and it is a screenshot of Frank in the air. Whoever Frank is, he is enjoying his time on one of the massive drop-offs in Steep, and he's wearing the Santa hat, perfectly fitting for the holiday season, pulling off the truck driver grab and falling down through the snow.
Well, there you have it, the final Reddit Roundup. Sadly, the Reddit Roundup will not be making a journey to the next podcast with us. It will be staying here in STEEPCAST. This, believe it or not, was the most labor-intensive part of every single STEEPCAST. So I know for a fact that Mitch is very excited to say so long to the Reddit Roundup. But this is its home. This will always be its home. Thank you to everyone over the past year who has submitted some killer clips and screenshots over on r/Steep. Hopefully that subreddit does not die as Riders Republic begins to take over, because I'm not done looking at all of these gorgeous clips from the game.
You don't have to worry too much, because we will still be showing off all of the awesome community content for both Steep and Riders Republic whenever it comes out, and we might talk a little bit more about that in the main topic where we reminisce on Steep and maybe talk about what's next for the shows.
All right, dude, so right off the bat, we have to talk about those 4 tracks that were released for the Japan map in Steep, but were never made available to the public for, just like Spotify plays.
Yeah, this came completely out of left field. I mean, Ubisoft Music is an active Twitter account that has, I think, only a couple thousand followers, but they just update their music playlists from all of their games, and they randomly added the 4 tracks from the Mountains in the Asia DLC, the Road to the Olympics, to the playlist that they have.
Yeah, and we're gonna sit down and dissect each of these songs briefly. I just have a couple of notes on each of them. Definitely worth a play. If you haven't already, go and check out at Ubisoft Music on Twitter. You can find a link to the playlist, to the Steep playlist that is including these 4 additional songs over there on their Twitter.
Well, I will let you talk about them because I didn't get a chance to listen to them yet, and I know you hand wrote some notes, so we'll start off. You listed the 4 of them, it looks like, and the first one is Daisetsuzan.
Absolutely crushed that. I have no idea if you said that right or not, but that's how I've been pronouncing it. Daisetsuzan starts out as like a super slow build. Now, all of these songs feature Japanese instruments, like traditional instruments, so they have just this kind of ethereal, floating, ambient vibe about them, and I really enjoy that. These 4 songs, funny enough, kind of tell a story almost. Stick with me. So the first one, Daisetsuzan, starts off as like a slow build, but it has that marching bass line. It's almost saying, the hero is being told that there is a mission that they have to go on, and they're contemplating whether or not they want to go on this mission, but everything is very calm right now at the beginning. Then they move on to Sapporo, which is much more open. It feels a lot more open air. That's the best way that I can describe it. It feels like this is where the journey begins. This is where they are discovering what they are getting into. And then you move on to Hakuba, which is the mission. The mission is right now. It's going on right before your very eyes. Super dramatic, driving ending. The ending of that song is such a massive climax. You have no idea where they can go from that point. And then all of a sudden, Zao hits you. It is quick, it is light, it is heroic. It almost feels like the mission was an entire success and our hero is marching off into the sunset on the mountains of the Asia DLC. Altogether, all 4 of these songs were a surprising treat, and I know I've heard them on the mountain, but it really hits different when you can put headphones in and listen to them without the gameplay and just absorb everything that Zakali does in their music. They are really a special gem. Ubisoft has to hang on to them. I hope that we hear from them again in Riders Republic, because they are maybe one of my favorite collectives to put out video game music. they just have a way of encapsulating the scene and the landscape and what's going on in such a traditional, wholesome, organic way. It doesn't feel like anything is being pushed. It just feels like that is where that music belongs. And I know it was written for the game, so yeah, they did their job. Well done. Round of applause for you. But there's so much more that goes into that. I urge you to go and listen to all of the Zicali tracks from Steep. You will not be disappointed. They are a wonderful, wonderful lazy afternoon listen.
Well, after hearing you talk about that music, I have 2 points from my end. The first one, I'm guessing somewhere in your 4 years of music industry school, you had a class where you had to write essays analyzing different songs and musicians and what it all meant. Is that correct?
Yeah, how'd you guess?
Gee, I wonder why. I mean, we got like beautiful descriptions of the songs, though. Now that I listened to them, I was kind of clicking through the YouTube video as you were describing them. You hit the nail on the head with every single one. And my second one is just, yeah, I agree. I loved Zicali's music, the entire Steep soundtrack. It's a cool collective where they just bring in different artists and different musicians when they feel like they need that instrument on a track. And they do really good at telling a story and telling the emotions of the place that you're visiting. I've gone through their Facebook feed. I follow them, so I've actually seen some updates. There was one earlier in the summer where they had a track put out and they had a bunch of different sports, so I thought that might have been a reference to Riders Republic. It was mainly about quarantine and not being able to go out and do those sports, but I'm wondering if we'll see them return.
Yeah, and that video that they released really cemented that the writers, or at least the base group of Zicali, are very passionate about the extreme adventure sports that are featured in Steep and Riders Republic. So it would be a silly move on Ubisoft's part to not include them in RR once that finally comes out, because these guys totally get it. They get the entire vibe, and I'm not sure there's another band out there, at least in the mainstream, in my mainstream, that can encapsulate everything that this band can. They really have the heart, and it shows through in the music. And I mean, come on, speak about heart. Mitch, we have shown some real heart, some real grit, determined dedication to Steep, and the video game that has binded our relationship. It has been the glue that has kept us together while we traveled apart, while we have been beginning our adult lives. I mean, you and I haven't lived in the same place since we were both in high school, and you would think that would affect a relationship, but we really found Steep once I got up to college and traveled across the state and was no longer just like an hour away from visiting you. Steep was really the glue that brought us back together and maintained this friendship. So let's just go down memory lane a little bit. Let's just share a couple of our favorite memories of STEEPCAST, of Steep. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, the game came out after I was almost done with my undergrad, so I did 4 years of college. It was right around that winter time. I think either the last year of school or when I took a year off before doing a master's program, so we didn't really see each other that much at all because at that point you were in college at the other side of the state. But we were so excited to get our hands on this game ever since E3. We love skiing, snowboarding, and the mountain sports, so as soon as we had a chance to get in the beta, we were exploring the entire mountain.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, but as soon as we got in to the beta, you and I were plotting out the Tartiflet games. That was the first thing that we did in this video game, was sit down and, I mean, let's roll back to E3 and cover that real quick. We were watching E3. I believe we were all on PlayStation chat. It was you, myself, and our friend Mikey, who has done some voiceover work for the Tartiflet games. You may remember his voice from introducing Steep in the trailer. But we were on PlayStation chat together, watching the release of all of the new video games for that year, and lo and behold, here comes Steep. Just rip-roaring action sports up on the mountain, snowboard, skiing. What more could we ask for? This has been ingrained in you. It has been ingrained in me. We both skied and boarded for years before a video game came to the PS4, came to the Xbox, and it blew us away. And I just remember you and I absolutely losing our minds when this game came out, and Mikey was sitting there and he had no idea why we were so excited to have a video game that allowed us to play around in the snow.
We were freaking out when we saw this video, and like you said, we were planning TFG the second we got into the beta. A lot of that came because on our old channel, we went on a creative kick with Grand Theft Auto and some other video games, so we were just ready to go, ready to do some new projects in a brand new game that was just releasing. And then once it came out, we just played it forever. We were exploring every single part of the mountain, and it's kind of funny whenever we're playing, especially when we were streaming this weekend, you and me, and then Space Clump, and I believe Poyo were on the mountain with us. You look at their levels, and they're way up there in their ranks, and then we're like a level 35 and a level 36. Because all we do is explore or plan out competitions. We don't do a lot of the challenges or things that build XP.
Yeah, we're two weird ducks when it comes to playing video games, but it's proof that you don't have to just follow the game's story. When you have an open world, and this is why I love open world games so much, because you can create your own narrative. You can come up with your own stories, and that to me is the best thing that video games can offer to someone, allowing your creativity to take you in whichever route you have to go, and the game can support you along the way. And then, as the game was kind of dying down, people weren't as interested. The DLCs were slowly trickling out, if any anymore. We decide to come up with a podcast for a video game that we have known and loved for years. We've had so much passion and so much energy towards, and we decide to make a podcast right as the game is kind of fading out, unknowingly, as Riders Republic is fading into the spotlight. And I don't know about you, but this has just reignited my passion for Steep again. I feel like we have a community that, I want to hear from you guys. Did STEEPCAST help you get back into Steep in any way, or were we just the ones that weren't playing Steep as much? Were you guys always in here doing this and then we popped in? But I know for sure that this podcast has reinvigorated our activity in Steep and our creative minds once we get into the game.
Talking about creativity, I never thought we'd finally get down to where we could sit down and record a show that comes out consistently about the game. And we've had plans for this show forever. I was going through my old laptop from college and found documents back from 2017 planning out a weekly Steep show that had a lot of the elements that you saw in STEEPCAST, the different segments. There were some that we cut, some that we came up with more recently, but all of the plans were there, and I'm just really glad that we were able to, at first joke and kind of say we want to hit 50 just because that's a good number, but then actually go through. And it became so much easier as the weeks went on that coming to 50, we were going to take a big break for Christmas before kind of coming back, but we thought we would actually miss doing a weekly show format. So it's gotten that easy to the point where we can just sit down, talk for an hour, and then have an episode out the next day.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the fact that we are not taking a break. You guys know we have announced it already. Riders Report will be the spiritual successor to STEEPCAST for Riders Republic, but we didn't want to jump right into Riders Report because, as yins all know, we're still waiting for Devblog 7, let alone the video game. So we don't have too much to talk about in terms of Riders Republic. We want to make sure that we have enough content to fuel an entire show before we start pumping out content and trying to grab more people to join the community. That being said, not taking a break posed an interesting problem. How do we go from STEEPCAST into Riders Republic without going straight to Riders Republic? And that's when Mitch came up with the perfect name for a podcast. Mitch, I'm going to let you announce the name for our intermediate podcast in between the two heavy hitters.
Well, thank you for that honor. We did some brainstorming because Riders Report took us a couple weeks to kind of come up with and solidify. But we don't want to move into that, as Nick said, because the game's supposed to be coming out in 2 months. You never know, A, what could happen, and B, we just don't want to start 10, 12 weeks away and have to come up with topics every single week and maybe lose an audience, lose some of those people that are coming in for the first time to this game. So we took inspiration from a term that is currently used in the skiing and snowboarding world, après-ski, which is used to describe the social activities and entertainment following a day's skiing, and the new show will be called Après-Steep. So this is after STEEPCAST, and of course after Steep because there's not any game news coming out for Steep, no major announcements, so we don't need a news segment dedicated to Steep. It is kind of weird to have a bunch of Riders Republic news in STEEPCAST since they're somewhat separate. So this show is going to be the in-between from STEEPCAST and Riders Report, and it will have content from both games. It's also where we're going to test out different segments that we might want to use in the Riders Report, but this way we can test them out before actually putting them in the show, see what works, see what doesn't work, and see what everyone likes.
Yes, Après-Steep. We cannot wait to get this ball rolling, and this is where you guys come into play. Now more than ever, we are going to need you guys to watch Après-Steep to give us feedback on segments that you liked and didn't like. I mean, we are making these episodes because we love to, but on top of that, you guys are watching them. So we have to make sure that the elements that are included are things that the community is enjoying and actually want to see on a weekly basis. So please, as Après-Steep starts rolling, before we get into Riders Report, please give us as much feedback as possible. We cannot wait to start this trial period, testing out the waters before we dive headfirst into the world of Riders Republic with Riders Report.
Well, that just about does it for the final main topic for STEEPCAST, but before we go, a good note to end on. Bumpy Boy commented, just thanks for everything, had a great time listening to every episode, and he remembered that we were happy we made it to episode 5 way back when, and he said it made Steep way more awesome for him. Looking forward to the next show, and I absolutely agree with that. We were excited to get to 5. I always hear the quote, do something for a month and then it's actually going to stick, like become a habit. And that was part of our goal, was to just continuously try to work on something until it became natural. We got in a rhythm, we got it every single week. So we were so excited that we were able to do that, keep it going up to week 10, week 20, week 25, and then all the way to week 50.
I mean, and just to tack it on top of doing this every single week, we also were tacking on Tartiflet games on top of this. So this was taking up a whole lot more time than we ever expected from the start, but we were so happy that the community embraced us when we set out on this mission to create something. We didn't know what this was going to turn into, but I'm really happy with what we came up with. We have at least one more question about STEEPCAST that we're going to save until Q&A after the weekly challenge, so let's get to it. Here comes the final weekly challenge.
The topic for this week's weekly challenge was art, to turn a Steep screenshot into a piece of art, and man, we had 41 entries from 10 different people. There were so many in the Discord, all incredible to look at. So without further ado, here we go.
Whoa, wait, hold on. That was only 10. Dude, what are you doing over there? We saw Sofex, Lucas, Steepest Legend, Faring, User 213, Yami Vulgaris, Lucas, Ski Maniac, Gnarly Duck, Flare, but there was a ton more. What's going on over there?
Well, there's two reasons that we didn't show all of these. The first was because these pictures were so impressive. I mean, all of them that I took a look at blew me away. We said we wanted to hang some pictures up on our wall. We're gonna need an entire photo wall with 41 of these pictures, and I know we'll be revisiting this category. We will have a video coming this weekend, probably on Sunday. That's not a promise, but it will be up before next week, by Monday at the latest, where we will be showing all 41 of these pictures in its own video because it deserves to be there. People deserve to watch just pure art.
So is this one of those things, we talked about how we were kind of trying to revamp how we do our podcasts. Is this one of the things that we're revamping? Hint, hint, I already know the answer.
Yes, indeed it is. The weekly challenge is getting its own standalone video series on our channel, both for Steep and then Riders Republic when it releases. So every single week, we will have a separate video with everyone's entries showing just the beautiful pictures that you put together. We will have more information on exactly how that will work out with the show in the first episode of Après Steep, which will be in 2 weeks from now. But make sure you watch the premiere of the weekly challenge series on our channel this weekend, because we might also have a prompt for the next topic in that video.
The first question of the last Q&A comes from none other than Yemi Vulgaris. They want to know, what is the best mountain story?
It's got to be the Tartiflette story, obviously. I think that's Point Per Se. I don't remember what mountain it is at this point, but that's where we got the name for the Tartiflette games.
Yeah, we've talked about it in length in previous episodes, but the story that is told during the Tartiflette mountain story, just talking about the cheese and the legend of the mountain and how important that cheese is. And then you look over to the company Ski Pass and In Tartiflette We Trust and how much Tartiflette really means to that region of the French Alps. I mean, it hits different, especially when you finally get to taste Tartiflette in the mountains yourself. So yes, respect to Tartiflette, respect to the Savoie region in France, and most importantly, respect to that mountain story.
The second question comes from Steepest Legend asking, favorite James Bond movie?
Well, my favorite is going to be Skyfall, and it's not because of the movie itself, it's because we recreated the opening scene of Skyfall in Grand Theft Auto, and that was the first thing of ours that went viral. I mean, Rockstar retweeted our video. That was pretty huge. But I know you are definitely more of a James Bond buff than I am. I know for a fact that you have all of the movies on DVD right next to your desk right now as we speak. So Mitch, you have to have more insight and more explanation behind your favorite James Bond movie.
You're right, man. That's a tough question for me to answer because I'm a huge James Bond fan. I've actually been trying to rewatch all of the movies in a row, all 24 of them, before No Time to Die finally releases. And I think I'm only on the 5th movie right now, so maybe I'm the reason why the movie keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So maybe once I watch through them all, we'll finally get it. And Skyfall is probably one of the top. I love Daniel Craig and all of the action that was in that movie. But I think the first one I ever watched was Goldfinger, back when they were trying to rob Fort Knox, and it was just such an absurd plan. So many great quotes from that movie, especially the villain. And then some of my other favorites are You Only Live Twice, Man with a Golden Gun, and Live and Let Die. They just had that campy action from the 80s.
Oh man, you cannot beat a good James Bond watch through. Thank you, Steepest Legend, for that question. Up next, we have Envy. If you could have one item from Steep in real life, what would it be? It's the rocket wingsuit.
Yeah, it's totally got to be a rocket wingsuit from the game because I would love to be able to fly one of those things. I'd also say the paraglider because I would love to fly in that as well. And if we skip both of those, I would just take the pair of K2 poachers that I've been rocking in the game, my signature skis. And I can't wait to see what the skis I'll be wearing in Riders Republic because I might be buying a pair of those.
Well, if we're going in terms of gear and not just straight up, the rocket wingsuit, the most expensive thing from the game, I would have to go with the blue Yeti outfit that the game gave to the Yeti Society. I would love that fuzzy, bright blue and orange suit so I could be barreling down mountains with that giant, just abomination of an outfit.
Another good question came from Firebro19 asking the most disappointing video game release.
No Man's Sky. Man, did that game suck butt when it released. Holy crap.
Yeah, and when we were talking about how excited we were for Steep in E3, our friend that we were watching it with was so excited for No Man's Sky that he got us hyped about it too. And that was one of those games where they just promised a lot of things that ended up not being in the launch game. They now have put a ton of content into the game and lived up to the original promise, but it took them a few years to get there, so I would agree with you that that was probably the most disappointing game release that we've been through.
Yeah, I'm really happy they turned that one around because, was I going to be angry if I bought that game for $60 and that's all I got from it. I actually have 2 copies of the game. I lost my first copy and I wanted to play it once all of the big updates came out, so I went to GameStop and bought one for pennies and ended up finding my second copy. So if anyone wants a copy of PS4 and No Man's Sky, seriously, hit me up and I will send it to you. Finally, our final question of the day, and we can wrap up episode 50. It comes from none other than Lucas with a U and a C. He wants to know, how much of this show was scripted? Was it just complete luck that this was a trial before Riders Republic and that there were 50 episodes exactly before the start of Riders Report?
For this question, we're going to break it apart to tackle it because there's a couple different things we can talk about. For how much of this was scripted, we had each segment planned out. So the order like news, main topic, weekly challenge, Reddit Roundup, and Q&A. Other than that, we didn't actually script out anything we talk. We just had the topics that we were going to discuss and then hit record and see what comes out of our mouths, and then Nick chops it up into something you can listen to.
Yeah, the only thing of scripted content that we have for STEEPCAST was our little tags. So, to submit for the weekly challenge, head over to the Discord. And I'm not looking at it right now, so I don't know the script. And all of the ending stuff. Subscribe to the channel. You can find us over here. We'll see yins on the slope. All of that, of course, was scripted content. But, yeah, the rest of it was just us flying off the cuff and putting up whatever came out of our mouths, whatever was formulated in our brains that week. Sometimes it was good. Sometimes it was, go listen to the old ones.
And you may have asked this question in terms of planning. So was it complete luck that this was a trial before Riders Republic?
The short answer is yes. This was pretty much luck. In terms of Riders Republic being announced and all of that. We initially, Mitch talked about it in the main topic, we did want to do a show like this way back in 2017, and it just so happened that once we both got out of college and we both picked up full-time jobs, we had enough time where we could sit down and say, okay, now is our time to try that idea we had 3 years ago and bring that into existence. However, we did hear whispers that there may be a game in the works.
Like Nick said, we always wanted to do a show, and around that time last year in December, we had the free time, so we wanted to start putting out more content on our channel. We also had some whispers that maybe something was happening, so we decided to start recording a show because if a game ever was announced and they were actually working on something, then we would have a show running at that point in time. We'd be 20 episodes deep. We would know how to run a show, know kind of what segments would work, so then we could move that over to the new game when it comes out. Or if nothing was going to happen, then we would still have all of that experience doing a show in a game we're passionate about. So whenever a future game came along, who knows, like Skater XL or something, then we could easily do a show in that game when it launches and not have to spend our time swimming around trying to work it out.
Very well said. Yeah, we had no idea what was on the horizon for us, but as luck would have it, this is where the complete luck comes into place. as luck would have it, an incredible video game was announced, and we were able to hit the ground running on it, and couldn't be any more happy and pleased with how all of this turned out. But yeah, 50 episodes, we could keep STEEPCAST going right up until the release, but we wanted to cap it at 50. It's a good round number. I mean, who wants to stop a podcast at episode 73?
Yeah, you even answered the final part of his question about ending at 50 episodes. I mean, if the game came out and it was called Steep 2, we would have just kept going with STEEPCAST, maybe taken a tiny bit of a break for the holidays, and could have kept the name. But we were kind of lucky that we could end on 50 episodes. Riders Republic is about 2 months away, 2 months and a bit. So we didn't want to jump into the new show right away, but didn't want to, end STEEPCAST on episode 56. And we said, there's not much news coming out about the game, so we felt it's more appropriate to do an in-between show before we kick off Riders Report.
Yeah, and be ready, man. I mean, we have no idea what Après Steep is going to look like. It's definitely, I can guarantee you, it is going to look a whole lot looser than the STEEPCAST did. Yep. And with that brain fart, geez, oh man, dude, 50 episodes. We're calling it quits. We're coming to a close on our baby. This is our first thing that we've really seen through for more than one viral video. How does it feel?
I don't know. I feel a lot of different ways about it. I'm very happy we can cap it off on episode 50, pop a bottle of champagne or crack open a drink and it not be to just one video, like you said, that went kind of crazy. But I'm also excited to start moving on to some other shows and other ideas to get out of this format a little bit. We have fun coming up with new segments and coming up with the introductions to them, to the transitions, how the titles are laid out, all of that stuff we love to do. So we get to do that for 2 more shows. And then we also get to end season 1 of TFG. When we started back in 2017, we only did 1.5 events and just kind of dropped it there. So we also get to cap off a season of that in January.
All of this, I mean, geez, we have built our foundation. Now it is time to build upon that and start designing the house that we are going to live in for the rest of our lives. Nick and Mitch to the moon. Nick and Mitch to Mars. We're coming to YouTube Mars. First people on the platform, you heard it here first. We're not going anywhere. Stay tuned to the channel for much more Nick and Mitch content. Tartiflette Games Season 1 is going to be wrapping up in January. Après Steep is going to be releasing a couple of days after Christmas. And Tartiflette Games Season 2 might just be announced in that January video. You don't know. I don't know just yet, but stay tuned. This crazy train is far from its destination.
And before we leave, we just want to say thank you to all of you for watching this show. Watching the stuff we put up on our channel means a lot to see, over 100 people watch each STEEPCAST episode. And now we've gotten to the point where people are watching it most of the way through, like almost everyone. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, for submitting your content so we get to show it off, coming up with ideas, helping us out with the events, everything. We're just so proud of the community and can't wait to see it grow.
You said it perfectly, so I am not going to ramble. Thank you so much to all of you beautiful people out there who are supporting our endeavors and whatever this is that we are trying to do. We will see you guys over in Après Steep in a couple of weeks. Stay tuned. The Discord is not going anywhere. The Twitter, it ain't going anywhere. The Instagram page, well, that's not going anywhere either. Nick and Mitch is taking just about a week break to get all of our ducks in line, and then we are going to hit it hard with the intermediate podcast of Après Steep coming to you just after the holidays. Thank you so much for 50 wonderful episodes. And before the waterworks start, or before we pop the champagne, we gotta say, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mitch. And we'll see yins on the slopes.
Yeah. Hey, STEEPCAST. Thanks for letting me do this. It's your boy, it's just Austin. Promised this route for you guys, so let's get it, boys. Ay, I'm about to launch my drone, and I'm about to pop off, cause I just hit level 25, and I'm about to hit the spot, and now my snowboard's been waxed, and the chocolate is hot. STEEPCAST reporting to you live from the top of Mount Blanc. Snow mist be making you miss me, cause I'm hucking a dub 12, I throw it into a misty. I'm a hunter, knuckle huck a motherfucker off the table, straight for the cover. Cameraman cannot cover this, cause he cannot believe that butter in Alaska, tossing Japan's X Games commenter, think that I'm going ham. Tame dog at the same dog, the nose grab is lame dog. Got a wildcat method of getting X Game fame, bro. Ready, set, you know I get this bread. Or like better yet, I got some Zalty flag. Go hard on skis bed, and thanks to Winterfest, call me Mr. Burns with that Yeti chest vest. Like peek at the dam, the whitest of sands. You know ain't nothing fresher than today's powdery plans. Then now and again, get a toboggan, get ready. Heading to Asia, eat dollar top ramen with a Yeti. I'm shooting off booters, pick boards over scooters. Sometimes I get on skis, I feel like the ride is much smoother. Got a horn, don't need it suitor. I'm getting bored, but it's cooler. No need for lesson on hucking, I never pay for it suitor. I fly like rocket wings, ain't nothing until he sings. Abominable motherfucker, I shine in steep diamond rings. I'm finding the finer things, we highlight the highest things. The Alps are gonna melt when I'm flicking these fire flings. It's just Austin. Hey, thanks everybody, you were great. Thanks everybody, you were great. Thanks everybody.